A shocking new report has revealed how the Israeli military has been relying on error-prone artificial intelligence to generate kill lists in Gaza. And as a result, the civilian death toll has skyrocketed. The AI system, which is called Lavender, gathered information on just about every single resident in Gaza, and it would then assign a score between 1 and 100 regarding their likelihood of being involved with Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And sources told 972 magazine, the outlet that broke the story, there was little to no human verification of its selected targets. One source stated that human personnel often served only as a rubber stamp for the machine's decisions, adding that normally they would personally devote only about 20 seconds to each target before authorizing a bombing, just to make sure the Lavender marked target is male. Lavender has played a central role in the unprecedented bombing of Palestinians, especially during the early stages of the war. In fact, according to these sources, its influence on the military's operation was such that they essentially treated the outputs of the AI machine as if they were a human decision. Now, they did a random sample of its selected targets and found that 90% of them were affiliated with Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad, meaning that 10% of its targets were not. And we have more context on this system and how it was used. The army almost completely relied on Lavender, which clocked as many as 37,000 Palestinians as suspected militants and their homes for possible airstrikes. The IDF would strike targeted individuals while they were at home because it was easier to determine who they were. Additional automated systems, including one called Where's Daddy, also revealed here for the first time, were used specifically to track the targeted individuals and carry out bombings when they had entered their families' residences. And the report found that the IDF knowingly bombed homes with innocent people inside and had civilian death thresholds as a result. For every junior Hamas member or Hamas operative that Lavender marked, it was permissible to kill up to 15 or 20 civilians. In the past, the military did not authorize any collateral damage during assassinations of low-ranking militants. In the event that the target was a senior Hamas official with the rank of battalion or brigade commander, the army on several occasions authorized the killing of more than 100 civilians in the assassination of a single commander. We have more, but I want to bring you both in here. Cenk, this has been sitting with me and weighing heavily on me over the past couple days since I read it. I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah. So guys, this is a devastating story in so many different ways. There's a kill ratio, which I want to talk about more. And I want to ask you guys about it too, because a lot of people on social media and on air defend this, and I find it totally unconscionable. This is not a usual poll that we do where I'm curious what you think. This is a poll I'm doing because I'm curious to see if any person will say yes to this. So would you kill 15 to 20 innocent people in order to take out a potential terrorist? Yes or no? And so you can get it at tyt.com/polls, and we'll always have the link in the description box. But I'm not sure a single decent moral human being would say, oh yeah, there's a bad guy right there. Let's murder 20 people around them as well as them. I think that's unconscionable. But yet, the government of Israel says, yeah, no problem with that at all. Yeah, that's our standard operating procedure. And those are low-level Hamas militants, and Jordan told you they're using AI, they don't even know that they're militants. And then they claim that the AI, when they double-checked it once, was 90% accurate. That's the IDF claiming that, okay? That's not, I don't think that's remotely true. And anything the IDF has said in the past has not proven to be true at all, except for the guys who are doing the leaking. And they had very interesting things to say. They said it felt like it was for revenge and not for legitimate military purposes. And they said the commanders would constantly yell at us. Now remember, these are IDF guys. They're leaking to the press. The original story was to an Israeli outlet, okay? And their conscience is bothering them. And they said, it looked like we were doing it just to be vindictive. I mean, who names a program, Where's Daddy, because they plan to not only kill that guy, but they want to make sure they do it in his home, so they murder his entire family. That is the official policy, apparently, we find out now, of the Israeli government.
Yeah, the naming of the Where's Daddy app is so sadistic. It's really hard to kind of wrap your head around. This whole report was really hard to get through. This all feels so incredibly dystopian. I mean, as if people weren't already wary of AI and the ways that it could possibly be used to harm humanity. No one was really talking about this specific application of the technology. You know, people were worried about psychological effects of AI, or maybe even the societal effects of it, or that maybe worst case scenario, the robots would rise up against us and use it to kill us or whatever. But even in those very fatalistic musings, this feels and really is so much worse than we had even imagined. But even though the application is a bit unexpected and horrific, it's still very impersonal. So really, this is exactly what we were afraid of. I mean, what is the difference between robots doing this to us and people doing it to us using an algorithm? It's so easy for the IDF to just eliminate entire families of Palestinians at a time because it's just a matter of an algorithm to them. There's nothing personal about it. And I know that the people who have been defending the IDF all along will continue to do so even after this report has come out. I don't expect them to change their tune, but I imagine that this will make that job a lot more difficult for them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, those are the guys that I was referring to that are all over the air going, yeah, who cares about murdering 20 innocent civilians? As long as the AI computer says there was also potentially a low-level militant in the area. And I'm not using those words lightly. They call them low-level militants, and they say they're not sure. It's the computer saying they might be connected to someone else that might be a low-level militant. And then when asked, why are you dropping such large bombs, what's called unguided dumb bombs, on these what you're calling low-level militants, right? I mean, in one of the higher level militants that was actually a Hamas leader. So not every story is wrong, right? And we give you the details. You have to look at the facts. You can't assume one side is lying or not, right? You have to actually look at the details. And one time they did kill a Hamas leader, and they killed about 120 innocent civilians along with it. And that's their policy. That yeah, you can go into the triple digits of innocent civilians murdered as long as you think you got one bad guy. But why drop the dumb bombs on the low-level guys? Well, here's what one of the intelligence officers in the Israeli Defense Forces said. You don't want to waste expensive bombs on unimportant people. It's very expensive for the country, and there's a shortage of those bombs, referring to the guided bombs. Every part of this is over the top cruel, like unimaginably cruel. If you put it into a movie, people wouldn't quite believe it. They would think nobody would do this. Naming a program Where's Daddy because you want to murder his family along with it, and then saying they're unimportant people, so drop larger bombs on them. Who cares about their civilians? Does any of this look like the Israelis are trying to minimize civilian casualties, and that Hamas is dirty terrorists because they killed a whole bunch of IDF soldiers on October 7th, but they also killed a lot of civilians. So they're awful, okay? And we're agreed. But when Israel makes it their official policy to kill civilians at a much greater rate than Hamas did, that's not terrorism? They're trying to avoid civilian casualties? Total, utter nonsense. They don't care about Palestinian lives at all. Everyone that's in the Israeli government right now should go to The Hague, especially after this, and there's even more devastating parts. Back to you, George.
I want people to think about how we sanitize killing in war, especially when you have unmanned aerial combat. You have these drone strikes that are in some case autonomous, and you have an artificial intelligence system spitting out names. Think about how sanitized that entire killing process is. You're completely removed from it. There's no human involvement. And it makes it much easier to create a scenario like this, where you have tens of thousands of people, innocent people who had nothing to do with October 7th, dead as a result. And that autonomous process was described by sources 2972 as cold. It was a cold, automated process, and there was little oversight for who got added to that list. Another source said that each time the pace of assassinations waned, more targets were added to systems like Where's Daddy to locate individuals that entered their homes and could therefore be bombed. He said that the decision of who to put into the tracking systems could be made by relatively low-ranking officers in the military hierarchy. One day, totally of my own accord, I added something like 1,200 new targets to the tracking system because the number of attacks we were conducting decreased, the source said. That made sense to me. In retrospect, it seems like a serious decision I made, and such decisions were not made at high levels. How do you do that and later on then realize, oh, that seems like a serious decision that I made? Just complete sanitization of mass murder. And when people invoke terms like genocide, this is why. They were wiping out entire families' bloodlines. Yasmin, I'm curious, what do you make of this, that somebody, a low-level officer, could just add 1,200 people to a kill list in one day?
Yeah, a good thing to point out there is, those dumb bombs are not targeted, right? These are not targeted military strikes on militants, right? And the whole time, the IDF was running this program, knowing what they were doing, telling the world that they were doing what they needed to do to take out these very specific Hamas targets. They gaslit the entire world, telling us that even though we could see thousands of Palestinians being killed and displaced, that they were just doing what needed to be done and that it was all very strategic and that they knew what they were doing. And we could see what was happening. And now that this report has come out, now that all these leaks have come from the IDF soldiers and people just out of Israel, from different journalists who are over there, even with all of the, the social media suppression of these stories, it's out there and people can see what's happening. People know what's happening. And even before all of this, right? Even before October 7th, we knew what the IDF was up to, right? It's just a matter of who was paying close enough attention to what was going on over there, even while it wasn't taking in a lot of headlines. It wasn't, getting all the national attention all the time, like not since 1947. So it's very sad to see everything kind of get to this very, very pinnacle apex point, and this is what it looks like. And the lying by the IDF, the reporter even said, that the IDF has denied a lot of what this report has said, and he stands by his report. He stands by his journalism, and he says, I've verified everything in my report with multiple sources. And it's crazy even to him, who deals with the IDF more regularly than we do. It's crazy for him even to understand, to realize how much that they're lying about things.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you a couple more devastating quotes, but first, look, we told you all throughout this conflict that do not treat anything as a monolith. And we told you that the Israeli press is actually pretty good. And here's Plus 972 magazine here breaking a tremendous story in Israel proper, right? And we told you, look, it's easy to get mad, and you should, at the government and the head of the IDF and the leadership there, right? But a lot of the IDF people are just conscripted into service from Israel, and the Israeli people are not a monolith. These are Israeli intelligence officers that are leaking this information because they're devastated by what Israel is doing and what they did. And so I'll give you those two quotes here. So one of them wrote in, "We were constantly being pressured, bring us more targets. They really shouted at us," referring to the commanders. Said one intelligence officer. "We were told now we have to F up Hamas no matter what the cost. Whatever you can bomb, you bomb." Okay, so does that look like they're being careful to avoid civilian casualties? No, they're being told the exact opposite on a consistent basis. And quoting The Guardian here, another intelligence officer said that after the October 7th attacks by Hamas, the atmosphere in the IDF was, quote, painful and vindictive. Quote, "There was a dissonance. On the one hand, people here were frustrated that we were not attacking enough. On the other hand, you see at the end of the day that another 1,000 Gazans have died, most of them civilians." So no matter how many civilians they killed, their commanders would shout at them, "Kill more." Anyone claiming that Israel's trying to avoid civilian casualties is detached from reality. And when you're not avoiding civilian casualties, you're purposely making cold-blooded decisions on how many civilians you're going to murder. That is called terrorism. I'm sick of Western media saying the powerless that do violence are the worst people on earth. We'll call them terrorists. How dare they fight back? Okay, I'm willing to accept it as long as you're equal and you say the states, the governments that do much bigger damage on purpose to civilians, murder them endlessly, are also terrorists. If you tell me no, they kill way more civilians and they do it on purpose, but if it's a government and an ally, we're gonna call them angels. And we're gonna say the guys fighting back are murdering terrorists. Well, then you're a liar and a hypocrite, and I can't stand it. So the reality is, right now, not all of Israel, but the government leaders and the IDF leaders are unfortunately and empirically the biggest terrorists in the world. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.